Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing an interesting video. So this one, as you can see, is going to be a crossover what if. I don't think I've ever done one of these before, but I may be mistaken. So of course, as you can see, we're doing a crossover between Shadow the Hedgehog and Dragon Ball. I was going to make this concept a one-part thing, more of a one-shot, but it just didn't work out that way. I'm probably just going to split it up into 2-3 parts then and focus all on the Android and Cell saga and maybe Boo and stuff later if we can manage to fit something in story-wise. Okay, yeah, that's enough from me. Let's get into the what if now. I hope you enjoy the video. So we begin in a field where Shadow the Hedgehog is randomly teleported and drops down to the ground. So Shadow is very confused and he doesn't know where this place is or why he was here in the first place. All Shadow knows of what he has to do is that he has to investigate and find a way home. So Shadow immediately begins his search and tries to find someone who can help him find his way home. He does this by traveling through town and finding cities after city until he comes across one city with a building called Capsule Corp. Having found several organizations that haven't helped him, he figured this one may be one he could try as well. Luckily for Shadow, his presence would immediately be noticed and a woman with blue hair would come out to greet him. The woman would introduce herself as Bulma and asks Shadow a lot of questions to which he wouldn't know how to answer or wouldn't want to. But he would finally respond with some answers to her questions, and he would be quite secretive, but he would also give some information out. After having told Bulma how he got here and what his origins were, she is very curious and she instantly knows how this might have happened. After bringing Shadow inside, she tells him that she was working on an interdimensional project, one that can sense dimensional energies. Bulma's guess on his arrival is that it sensed his universe's energy and it dragged him here forcefully. She does, however, think that if she can retract the steps, that they can send him back without trouble. Shadow isn't sure entirely what to think, but he knows that if this woman can actually help him, then he will go along with her plans. So Bulma tells Shadow that she'll work on it while he goes and does something for her. Her friends have been training for a threat for years, and now the threat is actually arriving, so she wants to see if Shadow can go help them with it. Shadow initially wants to refuse the request, but he realizes that this will be the only way that he can go back home quickly. She asks Shadow if he can sense the energy around them, and he asks what energy she's talking about, so she just hands him a scouter. Bulma would tell Shadow that this is a scouter and that it helps sense power levels, and that he will use this to find her friends. Shadow would put the scouter on and he would head off towards the direction that she said they were going. So Shadow would search and he would eventually come across some mountain areas where he would sense some power levels. He would soon find two people floating, one short and one taller, and they would have each high power levels to themselves. As he would approach slowly, they would look at him confused, and Krillin would notice a scouter and be even more confused as to why this giant hedgehog was wearing one. He would introduce himself and he would tell them why he's here and that he talked to Bulma and that she gave him a mission. He would say that he is there to help them fight the android threat and whatever else they needed. The two would introduce themselves as Trunks and Krillin, and they would all be acquainted very shortly with some questions and answers. Trunks would make a small comment about Shadow's energy and that he can't sense it like regular ki, but he knows there's something there. Shadow would brush this comment off, but he would be worried about it long term, and they would head off to find the others. Eventually they would end up in a city and they would meet up with Piccolo, Gohan, and Tien. They would have been looking for the androids, but they wouldn't have been able to find anything. They would question Shadow just like the others would, but Trunks and Krillin would give them the story and that they don't need to worry about it right now and that the androids are the bigger threat. Piccolo and Tien would look at Shadow cautiously as the conversation continues, and Gohan would just look confused and not sure how to feel about him. Shadow would attempt to keep his feelings hidden as much as possible as he went along with the plan and listened. After searching around a few other cities, they wouldn't have found the androids again, and they would have figured they would have been somewhere else by now. The crew decides to check in with Bulma at Capsule Corp and see if anything else has happened. She would update them on everything else that they aren't aware of, and that she has found some things about the androids, but she doesn't know their exact location. That Goku would be out of it for a while, and that Vegeta seemingly disappeared looking for the androids. Bulma would say that they would need to find a place to hide out so they can make a plan for the androids. Piccolo would suggest the lookout since most people wouldn't look there and they would all agree, so they would all bring Shadow to the lookout. While there, Piccolo would talk to Kami about fusing, but they would agree to not do it yet since it's not that desperate. Shadow would talk more to Trunks, and he would tell him exactly about why he's here, and that they're both in kind of a similar situation, that they don't belong here. However, Trunks would tell Shadow that they really do need the help, and that if he can tap into anything that will help them out, that he should. Piccolo would bring them all together to talk about a plan, and before they can fully arrange it, they would sense a strange energy below. It wouldn't feel like the androids at all, especially since they couldn't sense their ki, but it definitely would be something strong and not natural. Piccolo would suggest trying to find a source of the energy with a small team just in case something happens. So Piccolo would bring Krillin along, and then Shadow would volunteer to go as well. The three would attract energy down to a city which would seem very empty. Eventually they would come across a green insect-like creature, and he would look at them as if he knew most of them. The creature would look at Shadow, and he would not be sure on how to think, as he would not know who he would be. Piccolo would question the creature and ask what it is, and then he would talk to Piccolo as if he knew exactly what he was. The creature would announce itself as Cell and reveal its origins and its goal to become perfect. Shadow would feel very concerned about the story, as he would not be sure about the intentions of this creature. He would also worry about how he would parallel him and how he thought about being the ultimate life form when he was first born. Piccolo would challenge the creature to a fight, and it would be even until it would reveal its ability to absorb life energy. After they would all know the creature's hidden power, they would decide to attack it and end it there, but it would use the solar flare to escape. With Cell gone and the android threat still remaining, they now have two things to worry about now. After heading back up to the lookout and alerting the team of the other threat, they would decide to make a new plan. Some would go look for Cell, and some would go look for the androids. Gohan, Piccolo, and Shadow would go look for Cell, while Krillin and Tien would go look for the androids. The goal would not be to fight them, but to find them and know their location, or at least their general area. So the teams would go off and they would look, and after most of the day they would find nothing. However, the search would result in something, but it would not be Cell, as Gohan, Piccolo, and Shadow would find the androids. They would be in the middle of their usual shenanigans, and they would be trying to find a way to get to Goku. Three androids would be surprised at being found this early, but they would accept it, and they would even challenge the team to a fight. Android 16 would opt out as usual, but 17 and 18 would gladly be willing to fight them. Gohan would opt out of the main fighting and act more as a distraction for the androids. Piccolo would be hesitant to fight the androids since that wouldn't be their goal, but they would eventually agree to it after it would seem like there would be no other option. Piccolo would take Android 17 and Shadow would take Android 18, and the fighting would commence. It would be fairly even until the android's energy and power level would come into play. Then the others would get left behind, but luckily just in time, Vegeta would have arrived, having tracked the androids all the way here. Vegeta would scoff at the group initially, thinking that they could beat the androids, but then he would join the fight, attacking Android 18. Android 18 would start to fall back against Vegeta and Shadow, and 17 would start to notice using more of his energy against Piccolo. The more powerful attacks would put Piccolo even further on the back seat, and then Vegeta would go over and help Piccolo, while Shadow would try and stabilize the fight with 18. Shadow would go into his Chaos Boost to unlock some of his moves so he could even the odds. This would be the first time that the others would have seen it, and they would be shocked considering that this would have been his power the entire time. Shadow would throw off 18 as she wouldn't have seen these powers before, but she would quickly adapt and put the fight back to normal. Gohan would distract 18 a little bit, giving Shadow a chance to use a Chaos Boosted attack, putting 18 back a little bit more. Finally, by this point in the fight, neither would be winning, but eventually Goku would appear out of nowhere. The fight would have halted as they would look at Goku, unsure of what to do now. Goku was simply trying to disengage the two groups, telling them that they no longer need to fight right now, and that planning for Cell is more important. The androids would agree to it quickly, surprising the Sea Fighters, as they would all agree to it then, going with Goku's plan. Goku would let the androids go for now, but he would warn them against doing anything that would get his attention further. With 16, 17, and 18 gone, the Sea Fighters would head back up to the lookout to create a new idea of what they're going to do. Goku would lead the discussion, telling them that they need a plan, but they aren't sure what's going to happen. Goku would suggest some last minute training with some Saiyan techniques to make everyone stronger. However, Goku would decide on some light Saiyan training, as Shadow and the humans probably couldn't take much more. With that training set up, Goku would lead them to get stronger and stronger every day until they would be confident enough to go look for Cell. Goku would help Shadow get the sense of ki during the training, but they wouldn't be sure if it would be even possible to combine the energies. Alright, well that will be it for part 1, and I really enjoyed doing this, and it was easier than I thought it would be. This took a lot of creative energy to figure out, and I do kind of want to put this out sooner rather than later, so hopefully this will be coming out sometime in February. If not, well then I'm gonna try and figure something out and not disappoint you guys too much. But hey, there are people that only post once a year, so at least I'm trying to post once a month. Now with the excuses out of the way, I want to thank you all for watching the video. If you made it this far, why not give it a like and subscribe? There will definitely be more parts to this down the line, and if you want to watch more videos, check out my playlist and my other series. I will probably go back to those in the next couple of months. And hopefully you'll see this video sooner rather than later. And yeah, I am out.